Hello everyone, welcome back to Mad About Cards and Crafts. Today I'm sharing this card featuring Gina K Designs You Anchor Me. I had created this gelato background the other day and shared it in my last video. So if you go to my videos, you will see where I created this background. I used, I used metallic melon, bubble gum, cotton candy, blueberry, lavender, and grape on the gelato background, and now I want to soften it up, and so I thought that I would just give it a rough bokeh kind of look, and you're gonna see that it's going to look a little bit like a hot mess, but I promise you that it does get better. I'm using Hero Arts Unicorn White Pigment ink, and now I'm going to come in with this Simon Says stamp. And I don't care if I get a solid impression, I just want the words in the background, and this is the You Matter set. And so now I'm going to take and stamp the anchor, and for the anchor I use Gina K Designs Innocent Pink, which has a nice little peachy color. I was trying to incorporate I should say, some of the colors that were in that background, and sorry, my camera just doesn't pick up far away, or when I bring things in. Like, I am using a Panasonic Lumix camera and it just doesn't pick up when I bring things in, and I forget about that. So this Innocent Pink is going to match the metallic melon that I used in that background, and I'm going to stamp it a few times. It's a brand new stamp, and then I'm going to come in and I'm going to start stamping the flowers, and I'm going to use Skeleton, I believe, is the ink that I'm using. It's the Amagam ink Whisper, I'm sorry, it's Whisper, to do some no line coloring. And I'm going to bring in my Zig Clean Color Real Brush markers. I always have to think about that because it's such a unique name. I'm going to use those on my flowers today. And for the big flower, I'm going to start with Violet, which is going to be the deeper purple, and English Lavender, and I'm just going to go through and do a little bit of outlining where the petals are, using the darker color in the deepest spots, and then I'll bring in some water and I will pull it out. And because the stamp has lines, the flower has lines throughout it, you'll see that some of the pigment from the watercolors sticks to those areas a little stronger than it will to other areas. And so this is going to allow me to get a little bit of depth in this flower, and I will use all three of these. If you didn't watch my last video, I would recommend that you go back and watch it. I am trying to use up my supplies. I shouldn't say use up my supplies. I'm trying to use my supplies. I have a lot of things that I have purchased on impulse that just sit in my craft room. Gelatos are one of them. When I first started crafting, gelatos were the big hit. A lot of people were doing mixed media, and I started as a scrapbooker, and so I was doing a little bit of mixed media on my scrapbook pages, you know, using some gesso and texture paste and gelatos, and you know, just experimenting. You know, I was new, it was newer to me. I had scrapbooked years ago, and then I didn't have the time to do it, and my son ended up buying me a silhouette cameo, and I started to scrapbook, and then I started watching YouTube videos, and that's when I began making cards. So my first thing was scrapbooking, as I think a lot of card makers start in scrapbooking. Let me know down below, did you start scrapbooking, or did you immediately come out the gate as a card maker? That would be interesting. I would love to see how many of you were card makers from the get-go. So anyway, so he bought me the Cameo, I bought the Gelatos, and then I got into the sprays. So I have Color Bloom sprays, and I have Delusion sprays, and after I finish creating these 3 cards, I may go back in with my Gelatos and do some watercoloring with them, because if you watch the last video, one of the backgrounds that I made was just putting Gelatos down on my glass mat and then swiping through it. So the last card that I made was that background, and I would like to try just straight watercoloring with it. And so I think that will probably be on my list along with using my sprays, because as I said, I have to have the complete set syndrome, and I did that with the Color Blooms and with the Delusion sprays. I may have 1 or 2 Lindy stamp gangs, and they're sitting there and I need to use them. So that is my mission for 2020, is to use the mediums that I have. I'd like to pull out my gesso. In fact, I did make 2 other backgrounds that I didn't share on film, and one of them I used a transparent gesso, and the other one I used a white gesso, just to see what the difference was. And I didn't like the way that one of them turned out, and the other one I think I may still use on a card. So I've been kind of working with it, and that is one of the things that I love about just playing. As I said, the card looked like a hot mess. You didn't really get a good look at the background once the You Matter from Simon Says Stamp background stamp was placed on that background. And when you see it, when I start putting the card together, it just all comes together beautifully. So the moral of the story is, don't give up. If something looks like it's a hot mess, just keep working at it, and a lot of times eventually it will turn into something beautiful. I have said this before, and I'm going to say this again. I am not a fast colorer. I'm leaving the process in for those of you that do not use zigs and or would like to know how this flower is colored. So it's a longer video, and I hope you stick with me. And if you are a new subscriber, I want to welcome you to my channel. I've had several new subscribers, and I'm very grateful for each of you. If you haven't followed me on Instagram, I do share other cards that I don't necessarily make process videos for, so you can find me at Mad About Cards and Crafts Marla Harris on Instagram. And also, I shared in my last video that I am going to be going on a cruise this Saturday, and so I'm trying to get a couple videos up and ready to go. And if I am able to, then if they're put up and I don't respond to any of your comments, don't think that I'm just ignoring you, because truly I appreciate each and every comment that I get. I love interacting with you, but I am not going to have internet while I'm on vacation. I may get a little Verizon when I'm in Puerto Rico or when I'm in St. Thomas, because they're U.S. territories. But other than that, I am not paying for internet on the ship. It is just a time for me to relax. So I brought in a little bit of green on those stems and the leaves, and the two colors that I use, the dark color is, let me see here, the dark color is turquoise green, and then the lighter shade is green shadow. And then on this flower right here, it's a little bit lighter, as you can tell. The darker color is lilac, and then I added the English lavender. And then the third flower, I think, let me think about this. The third flower, I believe I used violet and lilac, so I kind of mixed it up just a little bit. And then all of the leaves are going to be the same color. I only show you, there's one leaf cluster that's a standalone leaf cluster, and I do color that for you, and I use the same colors, the turquoise green and the green shadow, but then off camera I stamped it out 2 more times, and then I used the same colors and just colored those in so that I would have a fuller bouquet on my card. So you can see that this flower right here, this second one, is just a tad bit lighter than the one to the left of it. And Gina K had the most fantastic release. Her last release, I wasn't able to get everything that I wanted to. Mindy Egan, I believe that's who it was. Mindy Egan posted a beautiful card maybe about 3 or 4 days into the release, and she used the peony, and she had heat embossed it. Sorry, I was looking at the package. She heat embossed it in Gina K Design Champagne, and both this and that peony set were on my wish list. But as soon as I saw the peony embossed, I, knew immediately that I just needed to have that. Haley did a watercoloring of it, and holy cow, I mean, her skills, I can only dream of having those painting skills. I wanted it initially from her card, but I'm realistic. I know I don't watercolor the same as she does, and so I was like, oh, I can just wait. But then when I saw Mindy's card, I was like, no, gotta have them now. So I did end up purchasing that stamp set as well, and I'm going to be probably using that really soon. It's just, it was just a beautiful release. I really like the herbs. I think that was a beautiful stamp set. The hello, big hello, it's all just gorgeous. And so eventually I'll go back and get some of it. I have stamps that I still need to color up, and of Gina K's, and so I'm trying to use what I have and not just buy everything, because I have a tendency to say, I want this, I want this, I want this, and unfortunately or fortunately, in many cases I can do that, but should I be doing that? Probably not. I just need to start cutting back a little bit and discerning a little bit better about, how much money I'm spending on crafting, because, I don't sell my cards. I used to sell my cards at the office when I was working in Colorado, and once I moved to South Dakota, I don't have a way, I sell a card here or there, but not as many as I was selling when I was working at the courthouse. And so, I just can't justify spending, you know, all of the money to buy everything. And let's face it, there's so many great products out there that it's so easy just to impulsively buy it. And that, you know, takes me back full circle to, you know, crafting supplies, you know, mediums and other things as well. I have some Altenew watercolors that, watercolor pens that I need to pull out and use because I bought them. I saw all the samples and the colors were so beautiful, and I just haven't used them. I have Daniel Smith watercolors. I have not used them in a long time. I have the distress markers. I have some Prima paint. Now the Prima watercolors I left in Nevada, so I don't necessarily, you know, have them at my fingertips. I do use those things when I'm in Nevada, but you know, I just like everybody else, I'm sure that you could be telling the same story, and it's whether we choose to get off the hamster wheel or not. And I'm trying to get off the hamster wheel and be satisfied with a lot of the products that I have. And if I don't, then you know, I'll start destashing them. You know, there's some things that I probably could destash, and I think we're all hoarders in a certain sense when it comes to our crafting supplies, and maybe that's, you know, something that I could work on. All right, so this is a Dynamics die. It's the U Trio, and that's from MFT, and I'm going in with two different pink colors. Let me see, what two pinks did I use? I used pale pink in the center of the flower, which I didn't show. That large flower has pale pink. And then I used the darker pink is just regular pink on that U. That's the one that I'm using right there. And then the second pink is going to be almond pink. I did stamp that second part of the sentiment with Gina K Design Passion Pink. I'm going to cut down my panel to 4 by 5 1/4, and then I'm going to place it on Ninah Solar White 110-pound cardstock, and I used the Gelatos on some B watercolor paper. So that background is actually B watercolor paper, and if I didn't mention it, I did stamp my images. The U, the top layer, is on Bristol Smooth cardstock, as are the flowers, and I stamped the anchor on Ninah 80-pound cardstock. So see, that background is just, I just really like the background. There I'm putting the anchor down. I'm trying to figure out, you know, where I want the flowers, making sure that, you know, I'm not covering up the U and I'm leaving a place for the other sentiment that says anchor me. And then I'm going to start gluing these down. I did, as I said, color up 3 of those leaves that you see right at the top, those longer stems, but I only end up using 2 of them. I play around with it. I'm not sure if I cut it out or not, but I play around with it for a little while trying to get all 3 in, and I just didn't like the balance, and so I go back in and I change it up and don't use it at all. I did not use any dimensional foam of any kind on this card. There was enough layers on it, I thought, that I didn't need it. And I am super happy with the way that it turned out. I can't say enough good things about this set. I can't wait to watercolor the anchor. If any of you saw Kelly Ledavola's video when she colored the anchor blue with watercolor, oh my goodness, what a gorgeous card. I'm going to finish off this card with some Hobein white gouache, and that's my card for today. Hope you enjoyed. Have a fabulous day. Thanks for watching.